Hello, I am recording a hopefully quick tutorial on how to use our new UW Green Bay template. Our template is now component based, and so what we're going to go through is how to drop in components on your page and then edit the content. So jumping into Kentico, there are a series of Kentico tutorials already available. So if you don't know how to get to this point, I recommend you go back to those other tutorials at, I believe it's uwgb.edu/web. I suppose I should check that. Yes, right here underneath the training tab, you can access the CMS video training. Go back and watch these other tutorials to get an introduction for how to use Kentico, because at this point we're just going to be talking about using our new template and dropping in components into the template. So we're going to start by making a new page. You might be copying an existing page, or you might just be editing an existing page. So just take that for what it's worth. So I'm going to select the sandbox folder and click the plus sign to insert a new page. At this point, you're going to be given an option to select a template. Our new template is called UWGB Voltron Basic, and this was a kind of a joke internal code name because it was a team effort. Anyone who's a Transformers fan will recognize that when all the Transformers combine, they're called Voltron. So it was a group effort getting that template designed, and we're just going to call this components tutorials. I still have this text coming up from previously, so I'm going to go ahead and click save. And when I click save, it's going to create that page and select it right in the site tree. It automatically is set so that I have it checked out. And you're going to notice that the page is completely blank. And when you insert your cursor, the cursor is going to be way over here on the left-hand side. We wouldn't want to just drop in text here because it would look goofy right up against the side there. What we need to do is insert components. If you'll know from the previous videos and from previous use of Kentico that we used to use widgets in our previous template to give a page layout. We have a much better way of doing that now. You can insert a component. What's nice about a component is you can see these blocks on the page when you insert them. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what's inside this component dialog box. And I should tell you, the insert UWGB component icon is the very last on the toolbar. The toolbar will show up after you click into the content area. So click into the content area, click insert UWGB components. On the first tab, you'll see all of our designed components. These are components that use styles from our UW Green Bay look and feel. And so you can kind of tell looking at these icons which each one of the components are. It's a photo with a block letter headline and a subhead and some text and a button. And then this is that same component reversed. We have two components that have 4 photos in a block, either on the right or left hand side in component B. Component C is 3 columns with photos and then a headline, some text, and our little call to action link with an arrow. Component D we like to use at the bottom of each page. It's a circle photo this one you might need help placing the photo in this particular component. And then component E is a quick facts component where it's 3 columns of facts. You can put text in the little green block, maybe a percentage or a number, and then the text below it. Then we have component F and component F reversed are our testimonial blocks. We call this our social proof. This is where we would put a photo of a current student or a recent graduate who has something nice to say about our program or service that we offer. It's nice content on a page to be able to hear from someone who benefited from what we're offering. Component G is like a large photo kind of block component where the photo spans for much of the block, but then has a diagonal line with a content area. It looks pretty dynamic on a page. It's nice because there's also an opportunity to put a caption for the photo, but this would be something that you'd want to make sure you had a really good photo for, and it's a little bit limiting for how much text you can put in this content area. And then the intro block is to use at the top of the page only. You'll see this text. You really do want to have an intro block at the top of the page, especially that this is our only component that has a heading 1, and it's very important for each page to have one heading 1, both to be found in a search like a Google search, like Yahoo, like a search like Google, Yahoo, Bing, and it's also important for if someone's using a screen reader, then the screen reader will know that that's the main topic of the page. So then we also have a couple more staff components. We don't use these as much now that we have a staff template that pulls right from our staff directory. But then clicking over to these other tabs, we have generic components. These are just, this first one just runs one column, and then we also have components with images and text below them. But it's not using our styles really heavily. And this would be more appropriate for like informational content where you're not seeking to leverage our personality as much. And then we just have some standard layout components. These are just the containers. There's no text, no images inside. You're literally just dropping in columns. And then as the editor, it is your responsibility to put in the text, headings, columns, photos as appropriate. And you'll notice here in layout components that some of these are wider than others. The 2-column layout A, for example, is constrained. That means that it's not going to run the full width of the page, where the 2-column layout A-full really does run the full width of the page. If you're dealing with a lot of text, it's going to be better to use these constrained layouts because that will keep your lines of text from getting really long, and that will help legibility of your page. But there might be cases where you want to use one or the other. So you can see there's some variations in how wide the columns are, and if you have 3 or 4 columns or 2 columns. So that's the layout components. So going back over to UWGB components, I am going to insert that intro component A because we need that heading 1. So I'm going to head and click OK. And this, I'm just going to call it components tutorial. Typically you want your heading 1 to be the main topic of your page, and you want it to match typically, like closely, relatively, what your page title is. So we're going to call it components tutorial. This will help it to be found in a search. So now we've dropped in our first component. This photo, you can see the placeholder image says it's a 900 by 600 pixel photo, so I'm just going to double click to open it. We can upload a new photo to our media library, or we can select an existing photo from the media library. I'm going to go here and select a photo that's already sized to 900 by 600. And I'm going to put in my alternate text. This is the teaching press. We'll say the teaching press group. And then we're going to save and close. And you can see that's how we placed that image. And you can select the text, printing the future. You can just select the text and type in over the top of it, so then it retains the styling. And I'm not going to do that for all of these, but you can see how it works. I'm going to save my work before I try to edit this link, because these links can be a little bit tricky. Watch what happens when I click in here to edit it. It navigates me over to the home page. If I had not saved my work, I would have lost my work at that point. So before you edit a link, be careful to save your work first. You can very carefully select the text. See, and even then, it still navigated me to the home page. What I usually end up doing is I'll insert my cursor in the previous component block, and I will tab to the next block. So you can just insert your cursor and then type the tab key on your keyboard to have it go to the next block. And then I will hold my shift key, which will tell the computer to select it, hold my shift key and arrow over using my right arrow key to select the text, doing this all without my mouse. Then I can type in learn more. And since this is a teaching press photo, I'm going to link this text to the teaching press. I'm going to right click on this text to open up this menu, and the last option is link properties. We'll open up the link properties, and here you'll get a URL field that you can put in. You can also navigate to the page in the content tree that you want to browse to. I'm going to navigate to the teaching press page. Here we go, teaching press. And when I selected that, it populated here with tilde-teaching press, and that means that it'll be linking to that page, and you can save and close. So now we edited that link, and we'll click save. So we have our intro block, and now we can insert our cursor and where we want to put more components and open up our component menu again. We could put in, like, say, a component B at this point. If we want to have a 4 photo block, we can insert our cursor and put in some of these other components. Maybe we want to have 3 column photos. Maybe we want to have our fact icons. I don't really like how the two of these look together, so I'm going to go back here and select this component, and then just hit delete. And you can delete a component. You can click and drag your components. You'll notice the icon changes. That didn't work. Here we go. There we go. I was able to reorder these components by clicking and dragging. Then I like to allow my components to get a little bit simpler. These styled components can be a little bit hard to work with in that the block lettering is so big that you can only fit in so many characters. So you really need to be concise, and when we use these block lettering styles, that's when we're trying to infuse a little bit more personality from our UW Green Bay, their personalities. So we're our tenacious provider, we're a tenacious challenger, attentive provider, or daring innovator. So one of those personalities, if we want to put something in, and here printing the future, that I think would be a daring innovator statement. So scrolling down, I'm going to try putting in just some more of these, like a generic component. Like here, we might be getting more informational, but we want to still introduce. And I'm going to call this what you need to know. And below here, maybe I have 6 things that people need to know, or maybe I only have 4. So I'm going to, the 4 columns can get pretty narrow. So I'm going to grab a 3-column layout. And I am, since this is a heading 4, and I want to add a subheading, I'm going to make this one a heading 5. We'll call that just our item 1. And so I can make that a heading 5. And that looks nice. So I'm going to select all this text and just copy it and paste it into each one of these. And you can copy this component. So I clicked this plus sign to select it. I'm also going to, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to type Command C. On a PC, you can do Control C, and then you can insert your cursor below and also paste it. So if you want to use multiples like that, you can. And then I'm at the bottom of my page, so I like to have this ripcord statement where, say by the bottom, if people didn't get the information that they need and they need help, they can go over to our contact page. So here I'm going to do that same thing where I insert my cursor at the end of this content area and tab down to the link, and I'm going to hold my shift key and arrow over to make this say contact us. And I'm going to save my work. And there you have it. This is a general page using components in our new style template. If you have any questions, you can always email webdev@uwgb.edu. Thank you so much for watching and for learning how to use our components.